Hello and welcome back to another episode of Wrapping My Head Around It, and I am super excited to tell you who I've got on the podcast today. Someone who's become a really good friend of mine recently, and Traitors Finalist from Season 1, Wilfred Webster. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you, mate? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. We got here in time. We're all good now.
We're
It was a bit hairy on my part, I must admit. The chips were letting me down a little bit. But we're good, man.
Good.
Yeah, how's things?
Things are mad. Things are fluctuating in life. Yeah, it's a very uncertain, weird life that I live.
Yeah?
It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah?
Keeps me on my toes, yeah.
Oh, mate, that's so sick. Mate, I know that we have a very good mutual friend in Big Al. We've got to shout out Al Casey.
Big Al.
There he is, Al Casey.
And Scully Dad.
And Scully Dad as well. Can't forget Rick. How can we
Don't forget Rick.
Mate, honestly, them two, I love them two so much.
They're
so
great.
But yeah, like, obviously we've got Al as a very good friend, and Rick as well. We were saying that, you know, we'd love to get you on the pod and go from there. And I'll tell you what, mate, we're going to talk about the Traitors in a bit because we've got loads more to talk about that.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, we're recording this on Wednesday. It's going out tomorrow on Thursday. I watched the entire season from Monday night until yesterday night.
Do you know what? Do you know what? When you watch the Traitors, right, I don't know how people binge watch it because I'd need a break.
Yeah.
Like, it's too much. Like, I'd need a break, bro. Like,
mate, honestly, the amount of shakes, I was like, nah, man, this is too tense.
I'm trying to think. It was like Game of Thrones. I remember binge watching Game of Thrones, right? And do you remember the Red Wedding?
Oh, God, yeah.
I needed a break, bro. Like, after the Red Wedding, I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done for the night now.
Need to watch some like Care Bears or something for a bit. Like.
It's like when you scroll through the internet. You know, when you're sitting there in bed and you're scrolling through TikTok and you look at something and it's like dark humor you shouldn't be laughing at, and you're like, that's enough for today.
Yeah. I've had enough internet for today. That's
That is basically like watching the Traitors.
Yeah.
So, but luckily, like, I knew what was going to happen. Like, obviously, season 1, season 2, didn't really know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And luckily, it didn't come out in bulk. Imagine it came out in bulk. I'd be so stressed.
Mate, honestly. Well, let's get straight into it, man, because obviously we're going to be talking about the Traitors, as I said, later on.
Yeah.
But we've known each other. We've had good chats about things about mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get you on because you've had an incredible journey with your mental health.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, we can say that, yeah.
Right. But tell us where it is that your mental health journey began and where it started.
Do you know what? I think when you have the life that I had, I think it comes in different shapes and forms of mental health in terms of, so like, we'll start from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
This is a story all about how my life got flipped. No, I'm joking.
No copyright.
So basically I started, when I was born as a human being, right? My dad went away for some time.
Yeah.
And I lived with my mum in Liverpool. But we lived in hostels and stuff, which was really hard. So, and my mum didn't want to expose me to being in a hostel all the time. So I ended up living with several different family members, like uncles and aunties. So I went to different primary schools and stuff. So that was hard anyway. But you don't really, I feel like when you're a child, the mental health doesn't really come into play, the negative mental health, till you're probably a teenager. Yeah. So it really started when I moved in with my dad, and my mum and dad were getting back together, splitting up, and I was in Liverpool, then I was in Peterborough, then I was in Liverpool, and it was just hectic. And I feel like I had this real angry, aggressive person inside me. I started doing boxing. My dad's an ex-professional boxer.
Yeah.
He actually fought on, do you know Nigel Watson and Eubanks?
Yeah.
My dad was on that show.
Oh,
on that
really?
card. Yeah. So my dad was a couple of fights before.
Wow.
So he's like militant, you know, like when he came back, when we moved in with him, he got us into boxing, which was really good for me. It was a good way of discipline. But for me, I think I just was angry all the time. I was in school. I was one of them guys. I thought I was hard because I was boxing, but I was also angry at everything, angry at the world.
Yeah. Which teenagers at that time you would be anyway, but like you said, the constant moving, and then, you know, your parents and stuff as well, like. And
I feel like that was the start of the journey in mental health, like just feeling the anger and with the world, and you don't understand it till you get a bit older, and you think you're normal, but now I know that wasn't normal.
Yeah.
but at the time you think everybody acts like this. But I got excluded for assaulting a teacher, bro. Like,
Right, okay,
that's
yeah.
like, do you know what I mean? I was in year 9 and I hit a teacher and I was excluded permanently. So I couldn't even get into a pupil referral unit. So these are the, you know, when students leave school, they go to pupil referrals. So
Yeah.
like all the naughty kids are there. I couldn't even get to one of them. They wouldn't
Right.
even let me. So I ended up being a labourer for my dad.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was a slave, like,
Yeah.
because I didn't get paid. Like, I was basically like, I didn't get paid, yeah.
Your dad's just milking that.
Yeah,
just like...
milking it, mate. But the thing is, his friends used to come, like, to see him, and he'd go, look at him. Can't even be in school. Look at him. Like, and I'd be like, shoveling the cement. Like,
Yeah.
I was hard. And then after that, with the whole mental health thing, I think the school got knocked down that I used to go to. They had no performing arts or anything. So it was just, you go there, you do your core subjects, you do history, geography, all that stuff. Didn't really have any sort of performing arts.
Yeah.
And then when they knocked the school down, they built a new one. We had a meeting, me, my dad, and the deputy head and the head at the time. And yeah, my dad begged them to take me back, basically.
Yeah.
And they did. And then I discovered like performing arts, dance, really got into it. I did quite well in it as well. And because of that, I just started to behave and my mental health felt a lot better.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was expressing myself in a different way that wasn't punching someone in the head. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, like, because you have, like, I mean, I'm more of a dad dancer, I'm not going to lie. But, like, you know, you have to have that same discipline with dancing as you do with boxing. Because I used to do, like, when I was in college, I did a little bit of, like, fitness and boxing and stuff like that. And, yeah, like you said, the rigorous, like, routines and regimens that you go through with that, I can imagine that a lot of that would have come into the dance side of it as well.
Yeah, 100%. So with like, I'm always determined. So I always want to try and be the best at whatever I do. So with the boxing, I did quite well. I was like national finalist, was amateur regional champion like 3 times in a row, like won loads of different like events and stuff. And then I was like Billy Elliot, innit? Like,
Yeah.
Billy Elliot's a boxer, goes to dancing.
Yeah.
And then it was just a different way for me to express myself. It was good for the discipline, very similar in terms of learning. Like when you're doing boxing, you're learning certain routines in terms of double jab right hand, and you're learning all these combinations. And then it's the same with dance. You're learning all these different moves and putting them together.
Yeah.
And so it was good in that aspect, but it was still a way for me to express myself emotionally. Like when you're in the ring, you can't emotionally express yourself apart from the anger emotion where you're like, I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, that's a different emotion to I'm listening to a sad song and doing some dance. But I used to do a lot of street dance, had to do contemporary just because it was part of the course. But yeah, I did that. And the real mental health struggle for me, so that was like bad mental health in terms of anger. But then when I started identifying it and getting sad and depressed, because we all know there's different types of mental health out there. You can be angry, you can be sad. And I think when I started identifying that, actually, I probably do have a problem with mental health. I was in year 11, actually. I was doing my mock exams. And when I was going through this whole time with my mum and dad splitting up, I lived with my grandparents. And I remember coming out the exam, and this teacher pulled me aside and went, your granddad's passed away. And I remember just feeling like empty and feeling like, oh my God. And luckily I had because I was the student that changed, teachers loved me and they supported me. So teachers used to, you know, when you have the exam and you have invigilators, they used to let me do it in their office and just stand there. So they used to invigilate me doing my exams because they knew that I needed to be by myself and do it. And it was really difficult for my nan. Like, imagine being with someone for over 50 years. And my nan was my best friend. My granddad was a man of little words. That you go in there, you're all right. That was it. That's all you get out of it.
How are you, Granddad? Fine.
That's it. He was a man of little words. But my nan was this really, you know what nans are like. You know, do you want a sausage roll? Do you want a sandwich? Do you want do you want some like food, like constantly? Do you want tea? Do you want all of the best? She was the best. And then that's when I started getting sad and started thinking, I feel really sad and I don't. But then I thought it was a natural part of grief, which it is, right? And then my my nan got ill like a couple of years later.
Right.
She got sick, and I moved in with her permanently. So I was in year 12. So I was doing the first year of sixth form.
Yeah.
Moved in with my nan, became a full-time carer for her with my brother and my auntie. But my auntie still lived at her home because she had her own responsibilities.
Yeah.
And I used to go back at lunchtime. Me and my brother, if he was at work, sometimes he'd go back to feed her, give her medication. Yeah, it was really difficult. And
that's a lot, like, especially like you said, you were going through like things like exams, and then later on down the line, you and your brother were doing it, like, you know, to have that level of responsibility. And realistically, I know that you're like young adults at that point when you get to that stage, but you know, you're still a child at that point, and you're caring for someone that you know and love, but you don't. I mean, it may have been different in your case, but I suppose that you may have been not out of your depth with some of it, but the fact that you're juggling school and that as well.
Do you know what? It felt special, actually. It's the weirdest, it's such a weird feeling. So she looked after me for a lot of my life, and I felt like I was giving back to her. And I remember my dad trying to lift her to put her in the wheelchair to take her toilet. And she said, no, I want my boys to do it. Like, she wanted me and my brother to do it. And she knew that we were trained by the district nurse. So the district nurse would come and show us how to pick her up and all of that sort of stuff. And yeah, and we had a bell next to her bed, and it had the actual alarm in our bedroom. So, and she had like urine infections. So she'd think she needs a toilet every 10 minutes. So me and my brother would be up every 10 minutes, taking it in turns. We ended up just playing Xbox most of the time, just because it was pointless sleeping. And I used to go into school, and then I used to nap. Like, so if I had a free period and I didn't have to go home, my dance teacher was like, yeah, go nap, bro. And he used to open up, it was supposed to be an office, but it definitely weren't. There weren't a window. Like, it was just, it was a cupboard that they put some chairs in.
Yeah.
Like,
that's detention.
I used to go and he had like this little, do you remember the old camping mattresses you used to put on the dodgy,
God, yeah, the little spring one.
Yeah. He had one of them in there. And I was like, so I used to go in there and just crash and sleep for an hour, get back up, do a lesson, and whatever. It was a really difficult time. And then when she passed away, I can't explain it, because I was living there, and obviously they were selling the bungalow. She lived in a bungalow at the time, but it was so hard leaving it. Yeah. And it was strange, but I sat with her when she passed away. So I remember sitting there. They had the family, because you sort of know when someone's going to go. The district nurses or whatever tell you that someone's going to die. And I sat there holding her hand, and when she died, she just stopped breathing. Yeah. And it was so peaceful, and I felt, it's the weirdest thing, I felt happy. Like I'd done a duty to my nan that I owed her. Like she looked after me when we didn't, like our parents they had a toxic relationship, so we felt safe at the time with her, and she looked after me and my siblings all the time. And I felt like I gave that back to her and was able to repay her. And it was just a really nice feed. I can't explain it. It sounds really like psychopathic. Like watching her pass away and feeling a sense of relief and happiness for her, and happiness that I was able to give back. But then obviously the sadness was really difficult. Yeah, and that's the point, that it's the low point. But you know, we're talking about things like family and things like that. Now, we spoke about this beforehand, and we've both sort of got a mutual connection with this as well. But your brother passed away as well, didn't they? So we spoke about that, and you said that you're happy to talk about it. How were you feeling at that point? Do you know what? I'm going to shout out first to people. If you've ever lost anyone and like you don't want to talk to anyone, you can always DM me on Instagram. Like I speak about mental health a lot, and I do reply to everyone if they message me. Like everyone that messages me, I do. So it's really hard. But the thing is, when somebody dies in your family, like you gain a family of people that have grieving too. Yeah. So you gain this like family of other people that know how you feel. Yeah. But yeah, my brother. So I was 18. I think I was 18 at the time, 17, 18. I was in my second. So I've just lost my nan. Got through my exams in year 12, and I was in year 13. And then I used to go gym with my dad, and then I went upstairs to my bedroom, and I heard my dad crying. And listen, my dad's like, he's not a kind of person that cries. He does now because he's older. He's like in his, he's an emotional guy now. But back in them days, he was a bit hardcore. I heard him crying, and it was weird. So I went downstairs, and he looked at me, and he was like, "Junior's dead," and I I can't even explain. I got angry. I punched the door, got really upset. And it's weird because with your grandparents, I think you mentally prepare yourself for something to happen.
Yeah, because naturally when you're younger and obviously they're of a certain age, you
Yeah.
just naturally expect that because you learn about the circle of life and things like that. But
Yeah, but your sibling, you just don't expect it.
no.
So when he passed away, like we lowered his coffin and stuff, and like, yeah, it was really intense for me because he was like, I was really close to him. And just to know that in my mind at the time, it was like, I'm never going to see him again.
Yeah.
And then I got hooked on antidepressants. I was really depressed. Like I couldn't get out of bed. And people that suffer from depression, there's different ways and that you might suffer. For me, it was like, I didn't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't. The only time I feel okay is when I sleep.
Yeah.
So I ended up just sleeping constantly. And then I was living with my girlfriend at the time and her parents. So like my granddad just died, so I moved in with them. I didn't want to go back home.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I got on antidepressants because it was just, the problem is that the school counsellor that we had left. So there was no school counsellor, and it ain't fun to get another one, which is an issue, man. Government sort it out. Yeah. And then they put me on tablets, and the tablets made me really quiet and paranoid. And the thing is, I've been doing performing arts, so people are used to me coming in. Doesn't matter what I'm going through, I'll still come in, have a laugh, do my stuff, dance, perform, and that was it. And then it got to a point where I was sitting there. I'd be like, "Why are you you're talking about me?" And they're like, "No." It made me really paranoid. And then one day, my other brother, so I split up with that girlfriend, right? Moved in with my other brother.
Yeah.
And my bag was open and he's seen the tablets in there. And he just said to me, he was like, "What are these?" And I was like, "Antidepressants." And he was like, "You don't need these, you've got me."
Yeah.
And then he cried, I cried, we hugged. And then after that, I never touched him again, and I was okay. It was so weird because it was the only time in my life, for all of this shit that I've been through, was the only time I actually felt opened up, and it was like this sense of relief and like, oh my god, I can actually.
And the weight just drops off.
And then now I talk about my life to everyone, bro. Like, and I think it's a part of me. Like I have to speak about it because it makes me feel so rejuvenated. And it's like, do you know when you was young, right? Yeah. And you was upset. Yeah. You listen to a bit of Coldplay to have a cry, and then you feel all right. You know that them times you're like, oh, I just want to be sad for a bit. It felt like, you know, after like every time I speak about it, I feel good. And the thing is, people feel comfortable speaking to me about their problems if I speak about mine. Yeah. It's not like I go to the pub with everyone and just go, "By the way, my brother died."
yeah, literally.
It's not like that.
I'll have a Guinness.
yeah. Go to the barman and be like, "You're right, mate, my brother died. Can I have, what beer's good?" Like, yeah. It's not like that. But you know, I think it's good for to open up to your friends and your family, and then they feel comfortable sharing their emotions, and then you realize you are normal. Yeah, you are normal. Everyone goes through it.
And do you know what the biggest thing and the similarity between us in that scenario? I lost my cousin. He was 20, 25, 26 at the time, and you know, he had his whole life in front of him. Recently married, had a baby on the way, X, Y, and Z. We grew up 9 days apart. We were so close, and I actually gained a new family after he passed away, which was his rugby club lads, and I'm so lucky that I've got that connection with them. And I actually did something that I planned for 3 years. I did an episode with them, which was episode 4 part 2, and it was talking about Dean, his life, how he was as a character, and you know what he was to bring into the party, because he was like us, high energy, he was bringing everything and stuff like that. But you know, like you said, like losing someone so tragically that young, you don't know how to deal with it a lot of the time.
Not at all. And the worst thing for me, I was convinced, right? So my brother was 27 when he passed away. I was 17, 18. And this is the God's honest truth, I never believed I'd be older than my older brother. So I was convinced I'd die at 27. Yeah. I was convinced. So when I turned 27, I was like, this is it. This is the end. My life's going to end this year.
Yeah. Do you know I felt exactly the same, mate.
So strange. Yeah. It was so strange. And then, and I went for a really bad stage at 27, thinking, oh my God, and then it was weird being older than my older brother. Like, I'm older than he ever got to be. Yeah. And that's really sad that he never got to experience, because at 27, bro, like I've started experiencing the best things in my life now. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's so sad that he probably didn't get to experience some of the most best things he might have been able to.
The things that got me as well when losing Dean so young was, like, as I said, we were inseparable when we grew up. We were 9 days apart, and we were always in each other's company. But then obviously you grow apart a little bit when you get to different groups of friends in senior schools and this, that and the other. But the bit that fucked me really was when you think about like all the holidays that we went on, like down to my grandma's caravan, or like we'd go stay up with grandparents, or we'd do this, that and the other. And, you know, I would want my kids, when I have kids, to have that experience with their Uncle Dean. But then that gets chopped really quickly. And that was the big bit for me, was the family side of it. Watching him grow with my kids, his kids, you know, those same type of things that you had growing up.
Yeah, them things, like having kids and them not being able to share my children and look at see what I've done with my life. Because we've like, as kids of my parents, like we haven't had the best upbringing at times. You know, it's been really difficult for X, Y, and Z. But like I've managed to go out, like buy a house and have kids and get married and all these amazing things. And I always do sit there and think, I hope he's watching. I hope he sees this. Yeah. I wish he was here to share it with me and be able to meet my kids. And that's really sad that you might see them again. Hopefully we do, but you never know. So it's like, grieving's a really strange thing, and people do it in different ways.
Yeah. Now, how did you find, you know, once you were going through your grieving process and you started coming through the other side, what was it that you were kind of focusing on when you were going through, you know, when you were coming out of the other side of your grief and starting to come out of your shell a little bit more? What was your main drive and main focus for that? Because a lot of people, like you said, they go onto medications. Yeah. Sometimes the medications work. Sometimes people have different experiences. Some people, like you said, like you just reached out to a family member or they reached out to you. And it was just that hug that was the instigator.
Yeah. So after that, I started paying for my own counselling. I just got a part-time 4 hours a week job.
Yeah.
That would pay me minimum wage, but I was able to save and go counselling like once every 2 weeks.
Fair play, man. I'd bid down spoons for a pint. Like.
Nah, man. I thought for me it was really important. I think when I spoke to my brother, and the thing is, when you speak to somebody that's going through the same thing, sometimes that can be hard as well. You know, if you can speak to somebody who's not involved with the family, doesn't know the family logistics or whatever, you can just speak to them and they'll be able to look at you with a clean slate, basically, or a clean vision, if that makes sense. So, so I paid for Sandy, her name is. She's amazing. She was actually my school counsellor when I was 15.
Oh, amazing.
And then I ended up finding her privately and just messaging her on this counselling website, and just ended up going back to see her. So she already knew my childhood, which was nice.
Yeah.
So I was able to just build that relationship with her again and talk about what I was feeling at the time. But for me, it was like I'd never wanted to be... because I came from such shit times, like I had really like up and down childhood. I just always thought, do you know, I want to be successful.
Yeah,
this is it. I just want to smash it and make sure that my kids never have to go through anything that we went through, and make sure that my kids have everything they want. They do, and they're not spoiled somehow. I don't know how we've done it, but they're all right. But yeah, it's just about, for me, it was just like making sure I'm driving forward, not looking back too much, but then not being scared to be upset sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when it's my brother's death anniversary, Nan's death anniversary, granddad's, whoever's it is, it's okay. I don't feel guilty for being upset.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, cool, this is the day that I cry loads and have a drink. That's it.
Yeah.
Like it's my coping mechanism once a year. Like there's loads of family members. It's every day.
Yeah.
365 family members.
Literally. But no, I get you, man, because we do the same for Dean's, for example. Dean's is in November, and we always go down to my hometown rugby club in Harlow, and you know, where I grew up, and we will always have a pint for Dean. Doesn't matter what day it falls on, whether it's a Monday, Wednesday, or a Sunday. We'll always go down to the rugby club and have a pint just to keep the memory alive as well.
And that's what it is. It's just, I think you have to have your own. People have their own mechanisms with dealing with grief. And I don't think it never goes away. I think everybody always says you learn to live with it. It is true. Like, you do learn to live with it. But at the same time, you'll never get over it. Yeah. You'll always have these little back thoughts. Like, when I got married was such a beautiful day. And then we had a table with, like, pictures of family members that were passed away and couldn't be there and stuff. And it was that was hard, man. Just knowing that. It was mainly my nan, actually, because... my nan was so proud. I started doing magic right when I was about 15.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's why me and Tom from the show are really close.
Yeah.
Because I'm a card magician. I did it up until I was about 18. Used to work in restaurants and stuff. But yeah, I started doing magic. And when family members used to come around, she'd be like, "Will, show them this trick." Like she was so proud of this thing. And now I think, oh my God, if she's just seen me on telly, like she'd be going nuts, man. She'd be so happy. And like she reads all them TV mags, with all the crosswords in.
Oh yeah.
And I've been in them. So I'm like, imagine I was in them. My nan would have been so happy.
That's the thing. But let's get into it then, because you were absolutely fantastic on the Traitors. You were sensational, mate.
Yeah.
But one question I have to ask you though, have you gone for a pint with Kieran yet?
Yeah, man.
Have you actually?
Yeah. Me and Kieran get on really well.
Yeah?
Yeah, believe it or not. Yeah. So even straight after the show, there wasn't even any animosity. And I think it was because I didn't really care that much.
Yeah.
Like, I think if it ended like that with some other people, they would have gone nuts. Like, he's done this, he's done. Like, for me, I was like, do you know what? It was so much fun. And you don't think about the money till literally the day before the final. You're like, oh my God, I could actually win.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've gone for drinks. Like me and like our wives are friends.
Yeah.
Like we've been out to festivals and stuff together.
Yeah.
We're cool, man.
Man, honestly, I watched it. Obviously, I've only watched it recently, but I watched it with my partner, and she's watched it beforehand.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, something's coming out," and I was like, "Oh, I better watch this bit then." And then when he was just like, "I'll leave you a parting gift," I was like, "Oh, that's spicy, that like."
Oh yeah, man.
But I mean, at that time, and obviously we're going to talk about the show in general, but like at that time, did your anxiety go through the roof?
Yeah, like, and the thing is, I was sailing home, man. Like, so if you look from episode 6 onwards, I didn't get one vote round the round table.
Yeah.
Not even Maddie. Maddie wanted, like,
she was
on
in
it.
for you.
Yeah, but she didn't vote for me after episode 6. So
Yeah.
she kept voting for Aaron and Meryl. So she left me alone. The only vote I got, the first vote I got in 6 episodes was Kieran's parting gift. So I was sailing. So I was cool. I was like, oh my God, I think I'm all right. Like, everyone's leaving me alone. Then that just comes out of the blue. And you're like, and at that point, you can't plan what you're going to say. And you just word vomit everywhere. You're like, oh, let's and it was, I panicked hard.
It's mad. But watching the show, going through some of the trials that you went through as well, they looked insane.
Do you know what? The ones at the beginning weren't that hard. They were okay. Like, we could deal with them. And it was the ones that came later on, like pushing barrels up hills, bro.
That one I looked at and I was just like, do you know what?
And they were really heavy. Like, they're really heavy. And the thing is, I'm already emotionally exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, mentally. Because the traitors stay up later than everyone else. Because obviously,
right, yeah,
we don't get back to wherever we're staying till like 3 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah.
And then you're up early. So we're always tired. And then to add that physical exhaustion, when I woke up the day after the barrels, I was like,
I can't move.
And I can't think. I was like, I can't think, I can't move, I can't cry. What's going on? Yeah, it was,
but that looked like the most physically enduring one, because obviously you had the river that you had to cross with that as well. You had to do the barrels and
it was the end, mate. So it was on like the last barrel was huge, right? And it had this really, really slight incline. Like, not a big incline. It was slight, but long. Right. So it was like, oh my God, it just got harder and harder. And then you see me, I'm at the way that it's coming, because it kept rolling into the bushes. So I had to be the one just doing this at the front at one point. Like, it was so hard. But then the laser one, I loved it, man. That's been a dream of mine for my whole life. I've always seen movies with lasers and I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then when it came on, I was so excited. I smashed that challenge.
I love the fact that you picked the biggest one as well. I was like, I'm going to go for that.
I was like, I'm going for that. I was like laying on top of it and everything rolling. I was like, I'm having that. I'm doing it. This is like, go hard or go home. I've always wanted to do it. So
do you know what was funny as well? Is because I know that we chatted beforehand, but when you told me that you were a dancer, I was like, I didn't know like what level or whatever. You can see the nimbleness in that, mate.
Oh, mate, I was nimble.
You were all over it.
I was nimble. And the thing is, people don't try to, when you step through a laser, you just mirror the exact movement you did with the opposite leg. Because then you land in the same spot, right?
Yeah.
So people like either drag their leg, but if you do it exactly the same way, exactly the same movement that you've moved that leg, you get in the right space.
Yeah.
But people don't I think it's a dancer's brain to be able to like unison your movements and being able to plan, like, okay, cool, move it exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Because people don't think about trying to do that. But if you ever do it, do that. Just move them exactly the same way.
Just do it.
Just do it.
What would you say that was your favourite one out of the
100%.
whole lot?
100%. That was the best day ever. Like, it was the best. Like,
Yeah.
I can't even explain it. And the thing is, we got there early and we got to sit for an hour outside. We weren't filming. And when you're not filming, you can't speak about the game or anything.
Right.
So you can't speak. So we all just laid on this patch of grass and it was sunny. And it was just so nice because no one was talking and was just laying there on this patch of grass. Maddie was laying on my legs. I was laying on Andrea's legs. We was all like laying on each other's legs, just chilling. And then an hour later, Maddie's like, it's you. I was like, oh, give it a break, man.
Yeah, literally, we were just chilling. Like.
We were just chilling. Like, we were all right. And now you're on me again. Like, shut up.
Do you know the thing that I found as well? Like when you were going through, like you were saying there about laying outside in the grass and all that. Like, obviously, it's filmed in Scotland.
Yeah.
Scotland's known for being cold, wet, windy, horrible.
It's beautiful there.
That's what I was about to ask because there were some people that were in coats and there's other people in t-shirts and all that lot.
I think it rained once when we were there. We filmed
That's so
the end of
lucky.
the end of May to June, and it happened to be like so hot. It was ridiculously hot at times. It weren't ever cold. The only cold place was the round table room. I'm pretty sure that I don't know what they did. It was freezing. The only place that was cold. Like you'll notice later on in the series, we're all wearing coats and stuff.
Yeah.
I went in there in a t-shirt. I was like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm pretty sure they blow cold air in there. I'm pretty sure. But it was freezing, man. The round table room was the only place that was cold.
That's mad. But like in terms of the series and what was going on, when Claudia's walking around, she first told you that you were going to be a traitor. Obviously, the excitement must have kicked in at that point. And then you found out that Alyssa and Amanda was going to be up there with you as well. Would you, at that point in the round table, would you have thought anybody else would have been the traitors with you at the same time? Or like, would you have changed any of the traitors?
They were perfect, man. I thought John, like, because obviously we have the whole day where we don't know who else is a traitor.
Right. Yeah.
So I was looking at John, thought John was maybe picked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just start looking at random people. But I think Alyssa and Amanda were perfect. Like, Alyssa, because she was the quiet youngest there, so people wouldn't think it could be her. I think she was youngest anyway.
Yeah.
And then Amanda was just this loving
matriarch,
kind of matriarch, figure, and then me was the reason they chose me. I know why it is. Why I think I do, because I worked for charity for like 7 years.
Yeah,
they know I have real morals about my life, right? And then they know I'm super competitive because I did boxing, I did dance. They're like, yeah, but he'll want to do anything to win, so we're gonna get this moral battle in his own mind.
Yeah,
and he's gonna go nuts basically. So cheers for that. But yeah, so they chose me because they knew that I'd have these moral battles with myself.
But speaking of moral battles, when it came down to, you know, the discussions that you had to have as part of the traitors, like who you're going to murder and who is going to be off and this, that and the other. But then obviously from your side of it, going against your fellow traitors as well at the same time, how the moral complex that must have gone through your brain at that point must have been through the roof.
For me, it was do or die. Like with Alyssa... So people don't understand that. People are already looking at Alyssa. So there was already I knew that half of the table, near enough, were going to vote for me. But I knew 4 or 5 people were looking at Alyssa as well. And that was the only person I could convince enough people to do to save myself.
Yeah.
Because they were already looking at her. And I knew I could convince a couple more. So I was like, if I go in, I'm going to have to go in hard on Alyssa to convince enough people so I'm safe. So I never went in there we didn't know how the game ended, bro. So we didn't get told until episode 11. You'll see it where Claudia says, you decide when it ends. We're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we had no idea how it ends. So I wanted to go to the end with the traitors because I didn't know we was all new to it. We weren't able to watch this series before or anything. Yeah. So yeah, with Alyssa, I did that. With Amanda, it was pure paranoia, bro. Like, really? When you look at Amanda, she was so good at the role.
She was really calculated as well.
So good and so ruthless, yeah. And for me, like, I think she obviously does have emotions, but at the time, she weren't showing them. So I remember thinking, have you seen Golden Balls?
Yeah.
You know the split or steal thing?
Yeah.
I was convinced, that's going to happen at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, if there's 2 traitors left, that's going to happen. And then all of a sudden... Kieran goes, Amanda would be great. I was like, yeah, she would.
Yes, she'd be great.
Actually, yeah, I think it could be Amanda. So then I just jumped on the bandwagon. So I was like, and the thing is, the important thing is never to be the one that plants the seeds, always be the one to water them, right?
Yeah.
If you're the one that plants the seeds and it's a faithful and they go out or whatever, people are going to go back to you. If you're the person to go, Oh, why do you think that? Oh, yeah, it could be, yeah. If you're that guy,
Yeah.
you're all right, because you can go, well, you told me it was. Like, why did you think it was? So you've always got something to bounce back off. But yeah, Amanda, that's why I got rid of Amanda. Kieran, there was two ways with Kieran. So my first actual plan was to bring Kieran on because we got on really well. And I thought he was such a strong-minded person. To bring him in and eventually get rid of Maddie, get rid of Andrea, get rid of Meryl.
Yeah, yeah.
And then at the end, basically get everybody to go for Aaron.
Yeah.
And then we'd have a majority and then we'd go for whatever. Like, it was a really good game plan because me and Kieran were untouchable at that point.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to vote for us. So we had, obviously, Hannah and Meryl wanted to vote, were good friends of me. So they'd vote with me. Kieran had Maddie,
Yeah.
would vote with him. So we had, so in my mind, it's like we dictate the round table.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came in like a serial killer, bro.
Well,
I was like,
well, this
what
is
is he doing?
He just switched really quickly, and he seemed like he was so pissed off. It was a great twist from the Traitors show to have you recruit another traitor or murder someone. Because I felt when I was watching it that all eyes would have been on you after that if you didn't take Kieran on.
Well, the thing is, I took him on for that purpose, but also they were looking for a man. So I was like, I knew I had to pick a man. I was like, let me pick Kieran, because he's strong enough to do it. I didn't know if Aaron would be strong enough to be a traitor. And then he came in to breakfast in a Mac, bro. I was like, what? They came to breakfast in a Mac. I was like, I fucked up.
Yeah, literally, like that. This is the murder outfit. Like.
Yeah, and then he came in, and everybody knew he was a traitor. There was no way I could try and defend him.
Yeah,
because Hannah, like, have you seen the clip where, like, he comes and sits down, like Hannah's doing her nails, like painting her nails, and he comes in and sits down, and she goes, oh yeah, I'm just gonna.
Yeah. She
just goes off. Yeah, leaves him, and he's just sitting there on his own. It was I felt so bad for him, but at the same time, the parting gift, it made the show as well. And the thing is, for me, it was, I think I would done better after. If I won, I don't think I would have had the opportunities because people didn't understand it was a game as much as what they do now. If I won, people would have just hated me.
Yeah.
So luckily, it worked out well for me and I've done okay after.
Yeah.
But I think if I won, it would have been, loads of money. Probably would have lost friends with Hannah in that and then wouldn't have had a career after.
And you know, I felt that watching it as well. And again, me and my partner were watching it and you could tell that on that final episode, all of the pressure kind of was just on you. And you could see that you were physically, emotionally and everything you were just done. And the fact that obviously the red powder came in, then someone then said this and then they voted you off and this, that, and you just saw, as soon as they voted you off, you just saw it go shoom.
And the thing is, it's like this whole pressure, you're lying, right? Constantly. And when I say constantly, bro, I mean, when you're, the stuff you don't see filmed. Like, so when, like, they'll ask you random questions like, what did you watch when you got home? Back to where you were staying, what did you watch?
Yeah.
Like, Family Guy. So like you'd have to like wherever you were staying, I'd go back. Say if I got in at 2 a.m, I'd go on the TV guide and go back to Family Guy and look at the episode of like what happened in that episode. Oh. So just in case someone asked me, like it was that, but you had to. And mate, I fell asleep once, right? I was like this. And Maddie goes, look, he's been up all night murdering. And I was like, fuck off, Maddie. Just give me a break, man.
Yeah.
Like, please, like, just leave me alone. It was hard. And then as soon as I said I'm a traitor, I was just like, yeah, this is great. I just want to, like, this has been so good. Love you guys. Enjoy the money. Buy me drinks. Goodbye.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was like,
and it was like you were skipping off as well because
I was so happy for them.
One of the things that I wanted to ask you as well is why you were on the show. Obviously, it looked like a lot of fun and this, that, and we talked about the heavy toll. But mentally for you, how did it make you feel? Because me watching it, I was like, holy shit, this guy's struggling a hell of a lot with his emotions because there was so many ups and downs, and you were quite an emotional person that was on the series as well. I'm
an emotional person in life, man. I'm not scared to like hide my emotions when I'm sad and stuff. So yeah, I found it hard. I found it really emotional at certain points because my whole strategy was to murder the people that I loved the most in the beginning. So like, because I can't fake emotion. So it was like, if I murder the people that are closest to me, I'm going to feel so guilty, I'm going to get upset. And people are going to think it's because they were his friend. So that was the strategy. And then towards the end, I couldn't murder Hannah because she was my saving grace in that place. Yeah. She was the only one that kept me sane and we'd have a laugh. I was like, I can't murder her. I couldn't even ask her to be a traitor because I didn't want to put that burden on her. And like, I loved her so much as a friend in there. We were like, we spent every day just chatting shit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even see, we just chatted shit and had a laugh the whole time. Like, and it was so intense. We were really lucky that the welfare were amazing. So there was times where, so it's called a MIV, a master interview, like the diary room.
Okay.
So sometimes I'd just be like, call me for a MIV. And then a producer would come in, oh, we got you for a MIV, and then you go for your MIV. But like, I just used to sit in there in silence by myself sometimes, just like, cool, I needed this 10 minutes. And go in there and just, like in the welfare, I'd just chat to welfare, and they'd remind you it's just a game. Like, I remember I had a little breakdown towards the end when I got rid of Amanda. I had a full-on breakdown.
Really?
Because Claudia came in, she went, oh, why'd you do that? I'm like, cheers, cheers, Claudia.
I mean, it's the game, mate.
I literally just started crying and I couldn't stop. And then like Claudia's cuddling me and she's like, it's okay. Like, it's a game. It's fine. And I'm like, I remember doing this, but we're making good TV, aren't we? I swear on my life. I was looking at them going, we're making good TV, aren't we? They're like, yeah, amazing TV. I'm like, okay, I'll carry on.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was so intense. And then I flew home with Claudia in that, which was amazing. So like, I flew home with Claudia, became quite friendly with her. Like, we chat and stuff. So it's, like, it changed my life, man. I've been able to do things I didn't think I'd ever be able to do.
And I think that's the thing. And going back to what you were saying right at the beginning of the episode, where you were saying about like your drive, your family, and, you know, the fact that you wanted to provide support and this, that, and the other, doing the jobs that you were doing previously. But then obviously that must have been obviously when you got out of that, and now that you finished the Traitors and what you've done for you, for your family, for, you know, your little ones and things like that, and the stuff that you're doing now, that for me is the ultimate win. Like, yes, you could have won all the money in the world and done whatever, but I think that the fact that you, at the end where you got caught and then you've gained the friends that you had. But what I think one of the big things as well was Aaron, when he was like, I love you, but you're a dickhead. And everyone just went with it. And I was like,
me and Aaron had so much jokes, bro. Do you remember when, like, you used to say, you've dropped that card? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We would walk up to him and go, drop traitor card. And they'd be like, oh, you're a traitor. Or traitor say what?
Yeah.
That's what he said. All that stuff. Me and Aaron had so many jokes, but he's great. But, you know, for me, right, now it's done. It was a really big risk for me to quit my salary job. I was the head of face-to-face fundraising for a big charity, and I couldn't put my 100% into that charity because I was doing podcasts here and there and doing. It just felt wrong taking a salary. So I was like, I need to make this risk, just jump off the boat and just see what happens. And I've been really lucky. And my wife is like the best, bro. Like, my wife is she's my life. She knows everything I've been through. She supports me in everything. If I need to go away to film and stuff, she's like, do it. Even though we've got 2 young kids, she's like, go do it. Never say no to anything. Like, I always message her going, oh, I've been offered this. Shall I do it? And she's like, just do it. If you want to do it, do it. Don't ever ask for permission. Like, if it's what you want to do it. Like, and I think that's what she's been a big part of everything. Like,
it's amazing having that support network.
100%.
Like,
she's the best. She's my best mate, man. I got to marry my best mate. You know, it's so weird that you pick another human and go, I want to spend every day with you. It's weird. Like, do you know what? You're all right. I want to spend every single day with you forever. Right, I want to literally live with you, right? Like, it's just a weird concept, isn't it? Like, you literally look at God, yeah, you're all right. I want to live with you. Like, it's so weird, and it's such a special thing to be able to find that person. You're like, yeah, actually, you're right. But nah, she's the best, man.
So what is it that you're up to now then? Post Traitors, what are you up to now? Because I know that you were doing some work with the BBC around Traitors previously, but what is it that you're doing now? So
I'm mainly social media. I'm in talks with quite a few TV shows at the moment. I can't really talk about them because I'm NDA'd up, but like we're in chats. My agent's amazing, man. Like, Adam's like, he don't promise me the dream. He's like, this is where we can get, but this is what we need to do. Like, we have a clear plan. So for me, for now, it's to let people know that who I actually am, not just from the Traitors. It's about who is Will. Yeah. Who is Will from the Traitors? Like, who is this guy? Where's he been in his life? What's he been through? Like, not just to be known. So it's about trying to get somewhere in a show where I can show who I actually am, and it's not just this guy that backstabbed everyone on a show. And then social media, man. I was lucky. I went into the show. I had quite a big following anyway on TikTok, and I've been able to like gain on Insta, gain on TikTok, do a lot of brand deals with big companies and stuff. Like, work with Disney, like Old Spice, like Tony's, Chocolonely, Apple, like all of these different companies. So that's been great. and it ticks you over, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I just want to earn enough money so my wife can retire. She's like, she loves feminism, but she's like, I love feminism, but I want to get out of it now. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, but she's just like, I'm cool. I think she's worked so hard for so long.
Yeah.
And we want to have another baby. If I can be able to like provide for her.
Yeah.
Like for our family, so we can have another kid, and she could be like, we loved being in lockdown to be able to be parents.
Yeah.
It was amazing watching our 1-year-old talk and walk and all that.
Yeah.
Like to be able to give her that without having COVID.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, mate, that's so sick. So I wanted to finish up by asking you what advice you would give to anyone that has been through something somewhat similar to what you've been through in your life, because I find this, for me personally, I love this part of the show because it really is like, this is cathartic. It feels like my therapy when I come on here, and I love getting little bits of information nuggets, and I know that this works for so many people. So what advice would you give to someone?
It's very simple. It's one word, bro. It's just talk.
Yeah.
Just talk. Just do it. And it's like, oh, can I really talk about this? Can I really talk about this? And it's the anticipation. Remember when you did something when you was wrong when you was young?
Yeah.
And you had to go home and tell your parents like you've been internally excluded or you've been in trouble.
Yeah.
And you had to tell them. It's such a big, but when you do it, sometimes you're like, oh, thank God that's done.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. I think just talking and just being open about your emotions, not holding them in, that is the best thing to do. It saved my life. Like it did. There was times where I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And if I didn't speak to my brother, like being on the wrong medication, I think it was as well, like it just made me feel irrelevant to the world and was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And I think by opening up to my brother it just saved my life.
Yeah. So
that's it. Talk, DM me. Like I'm being deadly serious. Like I respond to every single person that DMs me, and people will know that. Like I put a post about my brother the other week, and it was like on stories.
Yeah.
And I replied to like nearly 1,000 messages.
Really?
Like over 2 days it took me, to reply to everyone. Like they were opening up about the losses that they've had and stuff. And for me to read that, it's hard, but I feel really privileged that people feel comfortable. So keep doing the DMs. Like I'll be there.
Yeah. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. You are an incredible mental health advocate and a good mate as well. But
thank you.
Yeah, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And good luck with everything that you've got coming up.
And you.
Definitely going to be hitting you up for a pint soon as well.
Yes,
Should we just do it now? Yeah.